Perfect. Hello and welcome to the first talk, the first session of the evening. The session will be about Quarkus, which is an all-purpose, all batteries included Kubernetes native or cloud native framework for developing applications. And it is, as already mentioned by Garrett, extremely fast. And this is also one of the reasons I like to talk about it. So in the past, for the past 15 years, I was mostly working on the backend side, and whenever you would rebuild the project after you've done some minor, tiny change, it would take you 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 30 minutes, where you've been just waiting in front of your PC and waiting for the build to complete. Once I checked some other frameworks, and once I've also done some Angular, which is very convenient with the reloading because it's front end. I started the search for something better on the backend side, and I came across Quarkus, which is very fast. So today's talk is not a standard slide talk. I will do some demos based around an idea. So nowadays we do a lot of IoT stuff where we collect some data from some smart meters or other devices, and we try to process them in a streaming way. So I will do a simplified case of this, and it will be semi-live coding since we have only limited amount of time, and since my typing is not necessarily very good, I will have to fall back to copy and pasting one of the prepared commands. The advantage in it for you, you'll see what commands I type, what commands I copy, and you can replay it yourselves. The whole thing is on GitHub. You'll get the link, play around with it, also a couple of other links. So the contents of the demo today, we'll do some reactive messaging. Again, I mentioned the IoT part. Mostly data is collected by the MQTT protocol and then processed in some Kafka streams. I will show you how easy it is to set up a thing like this with Quarkus. A thing specific to Quarkus, as of my knowledge, called dev services and what it brings to the developer. A couple of testing things, and then remote live reload. I've mentioned Quarkus is Kubernetes or cloud ready and native. So I will show a couple of bits and pieces there. Without further ado, let's start. And we'll start with the first warning. Whenever you try to set up your environment, please use SDKman instead of installing all the other tools yourselves. Right, so here's my console, let's clear it, and let's create the app. What is here? Quarkus provides a couple of extensions. In this case, I'm using reactive messaging for MQTT and Kafka. Let me delete the pre-generated files, and then we are good to go to start the session. Okay, so I'm in the directory of the generated, and I will open my VS Code, and I'll go to main Java, and we'll create a new class. So what this class will do, again, this is a very simplified case. We will just consume some messages from the MQTT topic, and then we will transform it and send them further down the line using Kafka. So I'll call it double down processor. Class, and it has an incoming string, which is an string in, and it has an outgoing, which is a string out. I will make it application scoped, and then we'll produce a record for the Kafka. So basically the way small reactive messaging works, you consume messages of one type, and then you can transform it and then provide some other type. This is exactly what we'll be doing here. So I'll be producing a record for Kafka, and I call the method x twice, or x2, for duplicating the whole thing. And since we're dealing with MQTT, we'll be receiving an array of bytes. And yeah, I have to import the record class. And what we'll do is a very simple thing. We'll create a string out of what we received. So new string and we'll just return a new record, which takes the new string as the key and duplicates the string as the value. That's it. New record of course. So basically that's it. The only thing you have to do to consume and process messages, and the nice thing about it is you get MQTT messages in, you produce Kafka messages out. The only remaining thing I have to do, and this I will rather copy because I'm not willing to type this lot of properties myself, and I'll explain it. So basically for each and every stream or channel that we have to configure it. So in this case, the in connector is the MQTT and the out is Kafka. And so basically we're ready to start it. The only last thing that I have to show you is that I don't have yet MQTT broker or Kafka running, so I will start them using a Docker Compose file. For this matter, for now. Later we'll see what Quarkus can help us with there. So let's Docker Compose up in the daemon mode, and you see it bootstrapped the necessary environment in a matter of seconds. So whenever you want to work with it, use Docker Compose, for example. And now we are ready to go. So I'll do Quarkus dev. So Quarkus also comes with a command line application, which has a couple of nice features to try it out. You see, in a matter of seconds we were able to set it up, and the first demo. So we need to confirm that the messages are being transformed indeed. So I will just open the terminal in my what was the name again? Meetup, right? Kafka. I will open the shell in the container, in the Kafka container. I'm in the container. Again, I will fall back because I don't want to type it completely. So I will be just starting a simple console consumer, which comes with every Kafka, or most Kafka distributions pre-installed. And I'll free some space, and then I'll do the same for the Mosquito. I've forgotten the and we are ready to go. So let's try to publish a message. Remember, the topic name is string in, and the message will be hello. And you see, it works. So basically, in a matter of minutes, or if I would be faster with typing, seconds, you're able to set up stream processing between different technologies. It's very nice. It's all good, but please raise your hands. How many of you like to edit Docker Compose files? Okay, just as I suspected. So not everybody's favorite job to edit Docker Compose files. So let's check whether there is a thing where Quarkus could support us. Let's put it down. Docker Compose down. Let's remove whatever infrastructure we have there, and let's check it out. So if we would try to run Quarkus dev now, it will complain, obviously, because it cannot bind all those channels. So that's not the thing we want to do. But what we can do, and what Quarkus will support us with for a lot of databases and a lot of standard infrastructure, it will offer us dev services. And dev services are basically test containers, if you know this technology, which will be automatically spinned up for you with some predefined configuration. So once Quarkus detects that you haven't configured hosts, ports, or in case of Kafka, the bootstrap servers, it will by default try to help you in development and test modes by spinning up the required infrastructure. Let's test it out. So again, let's just execute Quarkus dev. And the only thing that I've done, I've just removed the configuration of the hosts, ports, and in case of Kafka, bootstrap servers. And again, dev services are enabled by default, which is a nice thing. You see, no problems here. And again, I've started it using the command line application of Quarkus. So if you type H for more options, you'll see a couple of neat commands, and among them dev services, C for show dev services containers. And you see what Quarkus has done for us is spin up all the necessary infrastructure. In this case, Kafka and MQTT. A very proud contribution by yours truly. Right, we could test it again. The problem with, in this case, with the container provided by Quarkus is that I couldn't find a way to find, I wasn't able to find the console consumer. So what we'll do right now is, so we've bootstrapped it, right? And we will just change. And I know you shouldn't use system out in production, but for purposes of demonstration, let's do it. And again, only for purposes of demonstration, I'm not using some string formatter, but instead the plain old Java string concatenation. And yeah, let's docker exec -ti. Container name is for MQTT is useful1, and we'll spin up our shell in it. Mosquito pub -t for topic string in, and a message hi hi hi. So another neat feature of Quarkus, it is restarting on the next request whenever you've done some changes. So received hi. This time I wasn't able to show you the duplicated message, but at least you've seen that the message arrived at the server, and I could also subscribe to Quarkus, to the Kafka topic, and it would show me the hi hi, obviously. Right. Now that we have it, without any headaches of needing to configure our own infrastructure, let's test it. Let me simply stop this one, and once I stop it, all test containers will be removed. Yeah, root will take a while, but then it will be automatically removed. And now let's write some tests. So, let's create a new file. Double down processor test Java. Big class. Quarkus has a lot of capabilities for testing. It has tests standard, as you know them from Spring Boot. It has test resources, which have their own particularities. They have a very nice feature called test profiles. I have a link on the last slide. I will give you some time to make a photo of it, which goes into more details. It's based on the talk from Quarkus Insights, where I was able to show it in more details. Right, let's save us some time, and I will just dev services, copy and explain, because I need an additional dependency. So small rye, which so many projects of the small rye are in the base of the Quarkus, and one of the features I like a lot is all the small rye projects, and one of the additional features that it provides is, yes, please update it, is also testing support for in-memory testing of reactive messaging. So what we'll do here is we'll inject an in-memory connector which will help us mimic all the necessary infrastructure that we would otherwise have to spin up, right? So taking bootstrapping containers will take time, will take some resources. You don't want to necessarily spend them on your CI machine. Instead, you could use in-memory connector to test it. So here we just define a source based on the channel name, string in, and we'll send a bunch of bytes down the road. We define a sink for the channel string out, and we try to receive and check whether there is a message and whether the message indeed got duplicated. Okay so far? Sure. Let's spin up the test, and if I've done everything correctly, which I think I didn't, right, it would be green. The only thing I've forgotten till now is I mentioned test profiles in Quarkus, but I haven't configured one. And you can do it in a bunch of different ways, but for purposes of this demonstration, I will define similar as you know it from Spring Boot, a different profile. There is one standard, which is test. And what I've forgotten to do in this particular case is to reconfigure my connectors to use small rye in-memory connector. So previously I was using small rye Kafka, which expects a proper Kafka instance. I was using small rye MQTT, again expecting proper MQTT service. And what I was also doing is I was spinning up the additional test containers, because I promised they are enabled by default. But if I want to speed tests up in this particular case, I could also disable them and use the in-memory testing. And this time, drum rolls. Yes, it's green. And you see also our output from the step before. It did receive a hello message, and expected hello, hello, it got duplicated. So far, so good. And I promised you another thing. Quarkus is cloud native. So obviously also Micronaut and Helidon obviously can run, so build Docker images, can provide native image support. They can be deployed in Kubernetes as well. But there is one nice feature of Quarkus that I like very much, and particularly in very difficult custom environments. If you don't have direct access to proper testing data, for example, on your local machine, or if the CI setup is slow and you're better off deploying directly while developing. So let's do another thing. I will delete the project for now that we've created. So let's move the demo. Again, for the preparation, I've also created the project up front so that you, in case you want to replay it, will be able to test yourself at home. So let's close this one. Let's go to the demo. Let's go to, let's open a code here. So the feature I want to show you is called Remote Dev, and it allows you to not only reload the application locally if you've done some changes, but also to automatically update your application in the cloud. So it's the same double down processor that we have here. It does the string application, What we'll do right now, I will show you a couple of additional configuration changes done there. So what I've done there is I've added a couple of extensions for the Docker build support and for Kubernetes, and also the configuration required for the remote dev feature, which is only to be used in development, and please refrain from using it in production. It's on for dev only. So what I will do right now, I will build the application, maven clean install. And again, adding those additional extensions for Docker support for Kubernetes is a matter of a couple of lines of code. You will find them in the snippets, just in case you want to replay it yourself. So what you've seen here is we were able to build an image and push it to the local Kubernetes on my local machine, which is microK8s in this case. And what I've also done up front, I've also installed Kafka and Mosquito into the local Kubernetes cluster so that we can test our application in the cloud. So what I will do right now is I will deploy the application, kubectl, create -f Kubernetes YAML. The Kubernetes YAML is by the way generated also during the build by Quarkus for your convenience. So let's check it. Docker get pods. Not Docker, sorry, kubectl. Get pods. Our demo is there. Our demo is running. Let's check the logs and see whether it was able to connect to all the required infrastructure. Apparently it was. So we are good to go with the demonstration of live reloading in the cloud. What we'll do here is, again, I will have to start a consumer for Kafka in the cloud for our string out topic. Next thing, I will use kubectl exec -ti, which is pretty similar to the Docker command, and log in into Mosquito, or create a shell into the Mosquito pod. And let's make some space here and space here, and let's try to send the first message. So we know the string in, and the message is, what do you want the message to be? Namaste? I'm sorry for the stereotype, but right, so it's working, right? And now the grand finale. Let's disable the image push, and now let's triple the string that we are sending over. And the only thing, of course, I forgot to start up front is the Quarkus remote dev application, which will monitor the changes and sync the code. Right, it will not work because it has to connect with the target application. It's exactly why we had to configure the reload URL. And since I'm running not on my local machine but in Kubernetes, I have to do some port forwarding. As we see, demo, yeah. Demo, and then port 9090, which is the port that I've configured in my application properties, and then the 80 is the standard port that I use to create the service. Right, it's capable of proxying it, and then let's restart the remote dev. Take a while, but what we'll be able to do then is not to triple the string, but to quadruple it. 4 strings is better than 3, right? Right, so it's connected. Let's quadruple the string. Why not? And you see, it is it is rebuilding the application. Let's go with this. And yeah, it's quadrupled indeed. So it might be really, really handy if your CI environment is slow, if you don't control it, if you don't control the data flows, and you have to deploy somewhere in the cloud, and the only thing you have at your disposal is some kind of kubectl version of flavor, Azure, OpenShift, whatever. Yeah, it's a perfect thing to do. Again, for dev purposes only. Please don't use it in production. But other than that, a great thing which could save you a couple of hours or days during the debug sessions. Right. Now, as promised, quick recap. What we've seen, again, a very stripped down, simplified version of a basic IoT application capable of receiving data and transforming it, sending down the line for further aggregation, for example. And I really hope that you'll be keen after this talk to jump into using Quarkus, or at least trying it out. So give it a shot. The first link is to the presentation, the more in-depth presentation, also including the tests and all the test possibilities. Quarkus IO, small rye, and since we have our guests today, Garrett and Marcus, Quarkus is also pretty good, compatible and provides some excellent results with Crack and also with MicroStream. There is even an extension for this called MicroQuark, already online on GitHub. So give it a shot. Thank you. Questions?
One question, like how does the Quarkus know that which test container to spin up from the Docker YAML file?
Which test container to spin up for the dev services?
Yes.
So basically it scans all the extensions, and if it sees that there is an extension, for example for a database, which is not fully configured, again, host is missing, port is missing, broker address is missing, there is a bunch of different technologies which have supported. But basically, if it notices that it cannot connect to a certain service, infrastructure-wise, it will try to come up with a dev service. And there is a full list of supported dev services online on one of the Quarkus guides page. So give it a shot. And it's pretty easy to extend it, or relatively easy to extend it. And the guys are really responsive and supportive. So if you need some specific infrastructure container, give it a shot. They have a Zulip channel. Ask them, ask me. I'm writing the second dev service right now. So the first one was Mosquito, the second right now is Cassandra. So if you're using Cassandra, give me a ping as well. It's already a working prototype. Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Extension for messaging or something like that.
Better is included. So if you just visit their page, there is an extension. They support OpenTelemetry. They also used to support OpenMetrics. I'm not sure about the state right now. I think they migrated to OpenTelemetry already. For resilience, they also have support as well, which is coming from the implementation of the standard APIs or standard requests for change, right? So the standard Jakarta EE stuff, most of it they implement. If you have any specific requests, we could have a look afterwards into the list of extensions there. Just maybe a quick look at what they offer. Quarkus extension installable, and then maybe, I don't know, trace. open tracing. If you need, cause I'm not sure. What are you looking for right now? Any specific? I mean,
metrics for metrics for
so
anything for I don't know REST API.
of course, Open API. I mean, Swagger support is there. Contract first, code first, you name it.
Any support for messaging to deserialization.
Jackson, Yasin, JSONB, whatever is there. Avro, I think, is also supported if you're interested in this one.
Just wanted to add to this answer. We have worked more with Spring. There is a page on the Quarkus website with comparison between Spring and Quarkus libraries and tools. So they have some. But you can find it all in one.
I mean, they do have a lot. Generally, there is a list of, a set of extensions supported by the company directly or by the developers of Quarkus directly. And there is also the so-called Quarkiverse, which are community supported extensions. And they are also very good, usually. So Vault, Cassandra, for example, are, I think, community extensions, not officially included into the main framework.
Alexei, I won't leave the building,
Yeah.
thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Great.